And we're back. No?
All right, now we're back. It looks like we're showing live again. Sorry, everybody.
Okay, so we'll see how long this is going to last. That's the only thing I can think of is the fact that we just got flagged for having a copyright. It's getting so bad.
Yeah.
And what I love is I love this campaign that Facebook is running to change internet standards. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sort of their shtick with it is, the last time that we changed internet standards, it was 25 years ago. Don't you think it's about time?
Ugh.
It's like, you're kidding me, right? And of course, whenever I see it come up and you see the reactions below it, it's just a ton of maniacal laughter because nobody's going to take it seriously. Like we really know at this point of the tyrannical rule of these social media companies.
It's like the anti-piracy commercials. You wouldn't download a car. You wouldn't download this. Why
I
would
would
you download a
fucking
movie?
download a car in an instant if I had that option.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'd be 3D printing a Ferrari
You wouldn't
tomorrow.
download a car. Hell, I wouldn't. I'd download all the cars.
Rick Ocasek, Benjamin Orr, all of them.
Right, the entire lineup. I mean, they don't move much on stage, but stick them in a closet.
Download Gary Newman's cars.
Perfect. There you go.
Download all the cars.
Speaking of which, he just released a new album and it is amazing.
Is it 80s techno like it was, like it used to be? No?
He's kept his sound updated. It sounds
Okay,
very
good.
current.
Very good. Very good.
So,
You know, the album's called Intruder. Little plug for Gary there.
so did anybody else feel? I mean, I love Nightmare on Elm Street 3. We're just talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 3. It's a great entry. In my opinion, it's probably the second best Nightmare film.
Yeah, yeah. But back to what you're talking about on the nightmare sequences though, like the marshmallow stairs in part one. Who hasn't had a dream where they feel like their feet are stuck and they're trying to move and
Or you're in a
can't?
fight and your reflexes are just so slow, like you're punching in slow motion, or you're not hitting them. You're hitting them, and it's just these soft. You know what I mean? That like nothing
Yeah.
is really working out. No, I mean it played on a lot of those fears, but the one thing I was going to say about Nightmare 3 is I almost feel like Nightmare 3 really should have been like Nightmare 7, because it was like this big return to form. It was sort of like retconning the second film, and it's
Yeah.
almost like, man, we should have got that film like 4 films later, because that's sort of how it works usually, is that it takes all these films to sort of, bookend it by going back to the original concept.
Well, since you brought it up in that sense, the next really good one was part seven. That was the one that was the new Nightmare where Freddy
Oh,
they've
yeah.
stopped making the movies and Evil enjoyed this persona of Freddy so much
Well, and it
that
was
it
Craven's
became
return too, so I mean,
yeah.
it stands to
Yeah.
reason.
It was that whole. It's like everything between 3 and New Nightmare just kind of floundered. You know.
Yeah, they really didn't know where they wanted to go with it, and they tried to have this sort of overlapping arc. And then it's difficult because they couldn't keep the original actors. So we've got these overlapping arcs where the actors aren't returning. So we're having to sort of familiarize ourselves with, visually how the characters look. And
Well, they got to keep Alice for two movies,
yeah,
so
we
that
got
was the
we got
same
Lisa
actor.
Wilcox for 2 movies, which is pretty interesting. But
Yeah.
it's just
They had to replace Trisha Arquette with Tuesday Night.
right, yeah. But it's
I
oh, go ahead, Rob.
I think I was gonna say I think 3 too gave us that. There was the MTV crossover we've talked about this in the past before, but for a short time, like for like 6 months, you could not turn on
Oh yeah.
MTV and not see Don Dokken. And I love Dokken. I do. I've seen them live. I would pay to see them live again. George Lynch, amazing guitar player. But that video with Don Dokken doing, like catching it from the gods and then bringing it in, but doing it so like passively. Like if you remember the video, like it's like,
Love that video.
you know, it was, and, you know, George Lynch with the Bones guitar and, the whole deal. But
Yeah.
it had that crossover feel. Like, I mean, you had Patricia Arquette in the video, you had Robert England, waking up at the end of the video going, "Meh," like doing the whole, campy Freddy Krueger deal.
Right. Yeah.
And it was just like, to me, it was that moment that they kind of went, okay, we got them now. We've got this one. We've got them, you know?
Well, they pushed a ton more marketing dollars into the third film. I mean, and it was obvious because it was everywhere. If you remember, there was a 976 number that you could call. There was all of these tie-ins. That was the first film too that because before the only tie-in that we had was Ruby Costume Company was sued for a Nightmare glove. But as 3 came along, they started licensing material so that you could get the costumes. And they also realized something important. New Line realized that even as an uneven sequel as part 2, it still had enormous box office receipts. So they understood at that point that they had a brand. They weren't as unsure as they were with the second film. By the time that third film came out, it was all about that marketing push. And it was just a total multimedia extravaganza. We had Robert Englund on just about every single talk show we possibly could. It was just push, push, push. So that third film was really more of a, how can we explode the franchise at this point? Like, we've got it. We can sort of we can sort of exploit this brand, and we can get sort of like silly with it.
I'm sorry.
You're trying to get our Wi feed shut down again, aren't you?
Oh, and we will.
I stayed under 17 seconds, so we're good. No, you're right. It was that there was, like you actually could find like the Freddy fedora and and things like that.
Rob treats his music like it's a kidnapper's call. Just try to trace me under 17 seconds.
Hey,
never find me New Line Cinema.
Don Dokken could find me with that feathered haircut and the whole.
Oh yeah. Not anymore. He's not looking as good anymore.
No.
Sounded good.
But there was that crossover too, like the whole it was the MTV, the crossover, but then there was also People magazine. All of a sudden Freddy Krueger's on the cover of People magazine. You've got, like you said, he's on every Robert Englund is on every talk show host. On their list, have to get him on there. I remember him coming out as Freddy on Arsenio Hall.
Yeah.
And
who can forget the return of Heather Lagenkamp?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
She's my first celebrity crush right there.
There was, that she was it was Leah Thompson, Heather Lagenkamp, Patricia Arquette. That was the wheelhouse back then.
Molly Ringwald.
Although she didn't really do too many, other than, she was mostly John Hughes stuff.
Yeah.
That's when we need to dive into is the mind of John Hughes. Holy cow, that was. Okay, sorry. Back to Nightmare.
Actually, I am getting a message from Nico.
Uh-oh.
So, what should our call be, guys?
We're half an hour in. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, talks amongst yourselves.
We are. Mentally. Mark and I are communicating telepathically. my finger to eyebrow device is broken. So anyway, back to this. Yes, Ronnie James Dio did do this because
Yeah, but
Ronnie loved you.
this is metal. This is I love you. No, you
'Cause
want
Ronnie loved
metal.
Now, did we ever send Nico a link?
No,
That would have been you.
that's
Then
you.
that's why we didn't have
Not me.
Nico on.
You are,
I sent her the handle
you
earlier
are the key.
for Skype, but never the link.
Oh boy.
So, Mark, where did you come out on the Nightmare on Elm Street 3, the Hikers? I think that was the only part that I didn't really dive into, and I liked the the kid that couldn't talk being tied to the bed with the tongues. That was cool. The kid with the wizardry, the super strong kid, but it was that in my dreams, I'm beautiful and bad. Yeah, it was just like, oh,
So cringy.
just a little either underacting or overacting. I'm not sure where that one came out on, but
When Freddy did the needle fingers and stuck him in, he was enjoying that a little too much. I'm
just
thinking that
yeah. But good, we're getting rid of her. The over underacting is done. But what was the other one? The one that got me too was when she's watching the television in the
oh yeah.
in the
Well,
smoking room,
my time, bitch.
and it was Zsa Zsa Gabor was
Gabor on Johnny Carson.
nope, not Johnny Carson. It was oh God, what's his name? He was in Forrest Gump too. He did the interview with John Lennon in Forrest Gump.
Dick Cavett?
Gotta that's it. But yeah, it was who cares what you think, bitch? And he cuts her head.
Andale.
Just so many great parts.
Andale.
Oh. Which one was that? That was part 4, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the chick that was the model.
Yeah.
4 or 5.
I don't wish I only saw 4 and 5 once. And then I saw New Nightmare a couple times because it was better. It was back to the thing.
I did really enjoy the 3D effect in part 6.
God, I remember seeing New Nightmare, Rob, back to back with Pulp Fiction. That was my double feature at the theater that night because they were out at the same time. Pulp Fiction and New Nightmare.
Yeah.
And like New Nightmare was like this precursor to the Scream movies too.
Zed's dead, baby.
Yeah. Well, we had Meta, which people really weren't used to seeing on that level. Seeing actors playing themselves in a movie where they're still actors. That just wasn't something that we had seen it. And I kind of credit it to the point where the franchise had been so diluted at that point that they were willing to take a chance with something new.
Between the Dream Child and Freddy's Dead, I mean those two, I still enjoy them for what they are, but they are not the best this year. They're still better than the remake.
I attempted to watch the remake, and
I still refuse to acknowledge it. The only frame of that movie that has entered my eye holes is what they used for the poster.
I will say that I did not hate it as much as I hated the Ghostbusters horrific 2016 train wreck.
Yeah, that was something special. It really
That's
was.
that's in the same book.
You know,
I don't even acknowledge that you're a thing.
And I'm not
I mean,
like a huge hater of remakes. I'm not. I mean, more often than not, yeah, they get it wrong, undoubtedly. But there are some examples where, even though I'm still going to love the original above the remakes weren't that bad. One of which was the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. I did not mind that much.
Right, with Arlie Ermy, that was good.
Yeah.
I didn't even hate the Rob Zombie remake of Halloween.
Well, our opinions differ there.
I know that one is highly
I think the problem that I had with that, and we won't go too deep into that because I could spend a lot of time on it, was the idea of Michael Myers was the fact that we really didn't know what was going on, behind those sort of, lifeless eyes. And that was intriguing.
Right.
Was Michael a product of evil? Was he just a psychopath? But this idea we're going to explore it. I'm like, oh, that's sort of like the one kitsch. Like, that's the one sort of staple of Halloween. I'm like, why are you taking the one thing and exploring it? It's like, that's sort of like the big major no-no, but they did it anyways.
And I think that got me with Dream Child, in Nightmare Dream Child. They just, why did we go down that path? I mean, was there no other paths? Were they all flooded that day?
I think they had there was a part of Dream Child that I thought was kind of a neat concept, though, was the fact that when the baby was dreaming in the womb, it also pulled her into the dream as well. I thought that was a really neat concept, poorly executed. But
yeah, I'll give the concept a B- and the execution a D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, the sequels in essence were all in their own way sort of problematic. 3 still shines because it was head and shoulders above everything else. But man, we've had some lukewarm entries.
But and then the whole concept, at least up through 3, was the fact that these kids he was killing were the children of the parents that killed him. After you get through 3, and I can see that, but after you get through, how many more parents were there? Was it like a small rave at this other person? Yeah.
Right. I mean, did they sell tickets?
It was a big suburb.
It was, you remember the dunk tank at like the county fair?
Yeah.
They just had, Freddy on that holding a match over a pool of gasoline. The entire town showed up to throw softballs at to try and
I think
him.
at a point it wasn't even really people who were involved with his death. It just became like, she didn't accept my Super Saver card. It just became in essence any revenge scheme that it could. No fries, and that's where we go.
What do you mean the ice cream machine's broken?
It's been 2 days in a row. Yeah, it's like it was any revenge plot he could hatch. Anyone, just in order to kill teenagers. Let's face it, it wasn't revenge. He just liked to fucking kill teenagers.
Right. Just let it go at that point. Just run with it.
Pretty sure your cousin was there. Yeah.
It started getting... It was
Alice Cooper. I'm going to kill you now.
Oh. Twice removed. It's like, he's just killing everybody they possibly can. Now, let's take a moment if we could, because what we've been failing to talk about is the one entry that falls outside of the immediate franchise, but swims international waters. What about Freddy versus Jason?
Freddy versus Jason. Loved it. In fact,
I was great with it until the end.
Well, they totally pulled
Who
a Kong versus Godzilla. You know, the 63 Kong versus Godzilla. Was it? No, it wasn't 63. It was 67.
Only you would know that.
And then I might even be off on that. It's been a while since I've brushed up on my Godzilla lore. What's the original?
It just, I don't know. Freddy should have won. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm with you. In fact, in my mind, Freddy did win because, like, when he's walking away at the end, he's like, Freddy like pops open his eyes and he's like, "Ah, I got this."
Believe it or not, I was
Yeah,
right the first time. It is
was-
1963.
And it was one of those things that
I just
that
thought
think
that
they
was
pulled
too
that
early.
always seems to be.
I shouldn't second guess myself. Okay.
It's always kind of a cop out, and I was worried they were going to do that with this new Kong versus Godzilla, but did not, and I was happy. Where they leave it kind of ambiguous to where like the fans of both franchises like, oh, my guy won, like, no, my guy won, and there's no definitive answer.
See, I didn't think there were camps in the Freddy versus Jason. I really didn't. You know, I kind of figured it. I kind of saw it as, you know, two, you know, horror icons. It just, in my opinion, Freddy should have, you know, dominated that. But then again,
Mark and I were treated to a wonderful pre-game show. Because Mark and I went to see the movie together in the theater, right? And we were at the Palisades Mall in Nyack, New York.
Right. And there was some guy, they were like 2 seats to
Don't
our
take your
left.
boyfriend to the same movie that your husband's watching.
Wow.
That's the lesson learned here. And it was strange because it was this, like, she was tiny. Like this tiny little cutesy little woman and this like bodybuilder dude, right? So the bodybuilder dude was like her boyfriend. So apparently her husband was also there, and her husband was just like overweight big, right? Like not the classical like, you know, stereotypical like Joe Weider, you know, muscle bound, you know, guy on the beach. This is, and I mean, it was crazy because you see the guy come up, and usually it's a bunch of shouting, but you don't necessarily get to, like, you know, the tangle.
Oh no, this was like no opening.
Oh,
just straight
and
into
the big guy,
main
the guy that we sort of considered, and I hate to say like overweight, it was just like not a cut, you know, physique. Hits the muscle bound guy so hard, the muscle bound guy falls back on the girl. And then the husband is still beating the shit out of him while the girl is under him. And then, oh, wait, bikers came from the back of the theater to bust it up.
And this all was 2 seats to our left.
Like we were right there. And Mark and I were just like handfuls of popcorn. Oh my God.
Well, that you could eat popcorn with that. You know, that's like, you know, like that whole, you know, action.
I feel kind of bad because like no movie was really going to live up to what we saw before the trailers even started rolling. But admittedly, we had a pretty good time with it. And I think that we talk about that a lot, right? We talk about the mood you're in, the setting that you're in. You know, are you with a group of people that are just having fun? You know, they're not overanalyzing something. And sometimes that movie-going experience has such a tremendous impact on your version of that film. You know, it really does.
I will agree because I went. What year did the Omen get remade? Do you remember when the Omen got remade recently? This was what
2003.
Yeah, it was early 2000s.
I want to say maybe it was 2006. I'm not for sure.
We were in the theater, and there were like 6 people in the theater.
It's 2006. Sorry.
It was 2000 because it came out June 6, 2006.
Yeah.
So
I'll forget my mom's
666.
birthday, by the way, but this shit.
It was there were 6 people in the theater, okay, and we were actually discussing the movie as it was playing because there were only 6 of us in the theater. It was the perfect setting to watch that movie. We were comparing it to the original and picking it apart, and it was. I think I will remember the conversations about the movie more than the movie.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, okay, so this is obviously where we're off on a tangent, and I'm cool with that because what was one of the best movie going experiences you've ever had? Not the best film, but the overall best movie going experience.
Well, one of my favorites, and this is kind of along the lines of what Rob was just talking about. Me and Lee Abernathy went to this little theater in Champaign when American Psycho opened. And there was like me and Lee were there and like 2 other people sitting farther behind us. And we were just dying laughing at the stuff in that movie because that movie was just like so over the top and ridiculous. And he comes out of that chainsaw, he's like, me and Lee were laughing. It was just dead silence coming from behind us. We're like, these people probably think we're psycho.
I went to see Mulholland Drive at a Sunday matinee that was like the one senior citizen discount day that they had. So imagine I'm sitting in a David Lynch film. I'm the only person under 65 in a David Lynch film where one of the first scenes is this woman masturbating just vigorously to the images of her lesbian lover. And it was like an Agatha Christie novel. It was like, uh-oh, we're down to 10 now. 10 little Indians. 9, 8, 7. It was like the herd thinned so quickly. And it's not a movie that I would laugh at, but I'm just laughing hysterically because all I'm hearing is, well, this wasn't the movie that I bought a ticket for. And then they were up and gone.
Very strange experience. As you guys know, you're familiar with Jersey, and my hometown in Jersey is very small.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a 2-screen theater in at Cedar Knolls Mall. We had 2 screens, and it was in 1977. And my friend and I had gone to see Smokey and the Bandit. When we got there, it was sold out. Rather than call for a ride home, we went and saw a little film that at the time had absolutely not begun any kind of groundswell whatsoever called Star Wars. And it was the strangest experience of my life now because, I mean, I went to see Smokey and the Bandit. I was, ready for Burt Reynolds and, Jerry Reed and, the whole, CB talking, the whole deal. And I end up going to see Star Wars. And my friend and I walked out of Star Wars, called my mom and asked her if she could bring $8.50 back to the movie theater so that we could go see it again. Immediately following, to which my mother, who was born in 1924, replied, "You're not wasting another $4 on a movie that you just saw." My 11-year-old dreams right into the sidewalk in front of the Cedar Knolls Mall movie theater at the payphone, which they don't exist anymore either. But it was so strange to me that,
seeing Star Wars in an empty theater.
yes. And
Like,
I don't know if you know this or not, but the original New York City movie reviews of Star Wars panned it. It was terrible. They started rewriting the they started rewriting the reviews after, people were lining up around the corner to see this movie.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the critics were like, we better, re-review it. But it was very strange to, I still to this day can't, wrap my head around the fact that I didn't get to see Smokey and the Bandit that day.
That's
Very nice, Mark.
That is the Excalibur of the Star Wars universe, built by Anakin Skywalker, the Youngling Slayer 3000.
There you go.
So I will be making my first trek
they
to Galaxy's Edge this year. So.
Oh yeah, when are you going?
October. We're going the second week
Florida,
of October.
California.
Huh?
Florida or California?
Oh, we're going to Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. Next year they're going to have the real lightsaber battles in Florida.
I saw those lightsabers. I'm not sold on them.
They got a year.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to go to. I want to check out that Galactic Star Cruiser hotel thing.
Oh,
that
I
they got
know.
set up down there too.
I know. It's like I want to do that so bad.
Okay,
Me and my buddy Matt have got plans to do that as soon as it opens. We got money set aside. Like we're gonna do this.
We're gonna have to meet in Florida. I have a question for you to throw out there, because of another incredibly strange story. The strangest concert experience that you ever had, and I'm going to go first just because it's going to be tough to top mine, but I think you can. There was a little tour back in the late 90s called the Monsters of Alternative Rock. I don't know if you remember this or not. And Public Image Limited was the headliner, Johnny Rotten. A friend of mine and I go to see the Monsters of Alternative Rock tour here in Western New York. In the middle of Public Image Limited singing the song Rise, which was arguably one of their bigger hits before, Disappointed and, all that came out, before PIL 9 came out, Johnny stops singing, stops the band, and announces that this guy in the front row is spitting on him. And he announces, if this, motherfucker spits on me again, about 45 seconds later, the song is playing again, and the crowd parts like the Red Sea. And these two biker dudes wearing leather jackets drag this bloody mass of what probably used to be a human being through the crowd. And my buddy and I look at each other and go, well, I guess that's the guy that was spitting on Johnny Rotten. Like at what point does it pop into your head to spit on a punk icon?
Yeah.
I'll offer my experience.
I think in the UK, in the punk scene, that was a thing though, to show you to appreciate it. It was the weirdest thing.
It's still a weird thing. I mean, I've seen footage of Maynard from Tool literally getting people in a sleeper hold because they've got up on stage and he's done fucking with them. And after they get done passing out,
like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, and then after the guy gets done passing out, he's like, "Woo, woo," and I'm like, it's like, okay, I guess this is your 10 minutes of fame as you were losing consciousness. So I will say, as far as concerts go, and it's not really a weird one, but it's a good one. Was that so I had tickets to go see Velvet Revolver, which at that point in time there was absolutely. Remember, at this point in time, there was absolutely no way we ever thought that GNR was going to get back together. And I'm like, okay, so
they still haven't,
right? So I've got an opportunity to see Slash play, right? So two of my friends were going to see Velvet Revolver. I'm like, I actually did like their album, so I'm like, let's definitely go. So and it was the PNC Bank Arts Center in New Jersey.
Was this the one that Alice in Chains opened for him? I was at that same show.
Well, let me tell you why I didn't see you there. So we get there, and my friend Scott, who's a high school principal, is huge music enthusiast, is like, "Hey, do you know the trick with at the PNC Bank Center?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes,
Oh no.
You can trade your tickets up." And I'm like, "What, like for cost?" And he's like, "No, you can go to the bandstand, and if they have tickets that are better than your tickets, you can trade up." So we go to the we go there to the the ticket station, and we had it was like 303C or something, which is like, let's face it, most of the time you're in like 202 or 303. It's like that's just where you're at. So we get up there, and she's like, "I don't have anything in because we're looking for 100." And she's like, "We don't have anything 100.
Right.
All we have are unclaimed friends and family seats." And so we're like, "Okay, so what exactly is that?" And she's like, "Well, you have your 100, and then you have unmonitored seats that are like 3 rows right before the stage. And it's a block of friends and family seats that basically Velvet Revolver has blocked out for whoever comes that they want to sit there."
Right.
So they give us the friends and family seats. So we are about 12 feet away from Slash.
Wow.
We see Alice in Chains play. And I mean, even with the new singer, they were great.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. I love him.
Velvet
He's
Revolver
really good.
comes on. Remember they did like a huge acoustic set because they did a bunch of Pink Floyd songs.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there watching Velvet Revolver, and we're literally like, no one's really sitting in their seats because the seats had so much room between the rows that everyone was just like up and like talking to each other and shit. So we're sitting there. A guy sits down beside me. I look over, and it's Jerry Cantrell, who was just, I guess, came out to talk to whoever was in the friends and family section. It ended up sitting beside me. So I ended up just listening to Velvet Revolver for 6 songs with Jerry Cantrell down there, which was pretty fucking awesome. So that was probably one of my weirder concert experiences.
It's me, your cousin Ash, remember?
Right, friends and
Christmas when we
family.
were
That's why I'm
kids.
here. And then he'd be like, "Hey, you know the trick with PNC Art Center?" I'm like, "Ah, fuck you, Jerry. Whatever." But it was a great show, and it was cool
yeah,
that
it was a great
sort of
show.
happenstance was kind of a thing. So
I've actually got 2, maybe 3 that
pick your best one.
pretty
Your best one.
bizarre. Well, the best one was me. Once again, me and Lee Abernathy. We go to Indianapolis to see
Sensing a
Stormtroopers.
theme.
We go to Indianapolis. We're going to see Stormtroopers. It has Scotty and Charlie Benante, Dan Lilliker, Billy Milano. Just a fun little band. They just released Bigger Than the Devil, so we're going over to see them. And through the opening bands, we're up right at the stage. And then between the last opener and Stormtroopers of Death, some dude comes up behind me and Lee, and he's like, "Hey, how you guys doing? You having good time?" Blah blah blah. And he's starts pinching us at the base of our neck to get up in front of us while when SOD's playing. Billy Milano sees this, and through the whole show, me and Lee are just beating the shit out of this guy. We're just yeah, and hitting him in the back of the head with our elbow with the beat of the song. And Billy Milano sees what's going on. He comes up and he saw that dude get in front of us. Comes up and just cracks the guy over the head with the microphone.
There you go. Defended.
It was a good time. And then probably one of the scariest experiences was at the Roseland Ballroom in New York City. I was going to see Megadeth.
Everything at the Roseland is scary.
We were packed in so tight. I was like this and had to push out so I could breathe and then back in. And everything shifted to the left. And I lost my footing and went down, and I looked up and I just saw the sky close on me. I was like, "This is it. I'm going to die at a Megadeth show tonight." Ended up just grabbing whatever I could and pulled myself back up and got out of it. But that was horrifying.
We definitely went down a rabbit hole with that
No,
one.
we did.
We did.
Yeah. Well, you know what, guys? We're hitting the top of the hour now. I had a great time discussing Nightmare on Elm Street with everybody tonight. Let's see what we can do about what are our guest lineup. Rob, you probably know more about this than I do at this point. You've been doing such a great job.
Yeah.
We've got Adam Siegert next week, the filmmaker that sent us the movies. Which, by the way, I have watched 2 of them now. They're You will love them if you have not watched them. They're fantastic. He's definitely going to be an interesting guest. After that, I think we have Chuck, the pet psychic.
Yep, Charles
Oh,
Peden, our
good,
good
good.
friend.
Right. We've got I'm working right now with a guy by the name of Jason, who Ash you met here in Rochester that had Pop Rock, the cereal bar.
Great, love that place, loved it.
He is trying to free up a Thursday night for us so that we can talk all things comics and collectibles.
That'll be a ton of fun.
Yeah. We got to reschedule the lady though.
Yeah, we got to get Nico back on. We dropped the ball on that one. I'll reach out to her and apologize, and we'll get her squared away. We've got who else did we have coming on? There's one more, and I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. But yeah, we've got some good stuff coming up, and I've got my hands out to some other people trying to get them to jump on board. By all means, too, if anybody's out there got an idea that they would like for a show, throw it out. We'll see if we can't find somebody that can fit the bill.
Yeah.
Well, again, thanks everybody for listening tonight, and our apologies go out to the viewing audience as we had to switch things up a little bit, and that one was totally our bad, mainly my bad. So everybody have a great night. Why don't we stick on just for a little bit, guys, after we sign off here?